my opening remarks is that let's take this coronavirus serious. It's a killer, it's killing. Let us stay at home and go out if it is necessary. And let's educate our communities. We also applaud the issue of banning alcohol again. According to my view, I'm praying that it can be banned for 2 years. Sorry to those who are affected. But as a leader, this is what I must say, because our children are the ones who are going for bashes, etc., etc. So let's applaud the president and his team. You are warmly welcome, honorable members, most especially my team from the Select Committee on Small Business and Development. Chairperson, with your team, you are warmly welcome to this meeting. Let's join hands. The purpose of the meeting briefly is to be briefed about the revised 2020-21 annual performance plan and the budget by the agencies as well as by the department itself. In our midst, we've got our minister who is going to lead the team. During the right time, I will call her to greet us and give a political overview and request a team to present whatever they are supposed to present. So for now, you are warmly welcome, honorable members. Then the second item in our agenda is roll call and apologies. King, can you lead us on this one? Do we have any apologies?
Thank you, Chairperson.
Yes.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, firstly, we've got an apology from Honorable Zungula. And then we also have an apology from Honorable TK, who stated that his mother was tested positive, and then he is not sure whether he'll be able to make it for the meeting because he's trying to check, because he was in Durban and his mother was in Richards Bay. So he has got that commitment. Lastly, I would like us to welcome Honorable Babalwa, who has been deployed by EFF in the small business development. So Honorable Babalwa is going to be full member, and then Honorable TK now is going to be an alternate. So those are that we have received. And lastly, on my side, Chair, I don't know, I'm still trying to do, I've got a load shedding this side, and then I don't know how long will my battery last. Thank you, Chair.
You must delegate someone administratively to be there on your behalf in case, but I don't think that is we're going to take long, because they're just going to present to us only the affected areas. They're not starting afresh. But in the meantime, delegate someone. Honorable members, here, these are the apologies. Let me take this opportunity and welcome the new member from the EFF, Honorable Babalo. You are warmly welcome. Feel at home. This is the portfolio committee which accommodate all parties regardless of their numbers in parliament. You are part of us. I believe we'll have a very good relationship with you, like we are doing with all the parties. So we really accept you and acknowledge your presence in our midst. So I can't see him. I will request him just to greet us for 1 minute so that honorable members can be able to acknowledge him. Where is he? Honorable Babalo, can you greet the team, please? King.
Chair.
Where is he?
Maybe she's having some technical problems.
Oh, she's a she. It's not a he.
Yes, it's a she. Yeah, it's a she.
Okay. All right.
We can proceed as soon as she's available. We'll indicate.
Then we'll do that. Thank you. And then, can I have a mover for the adoption of the agenda, which is our next item? Any mover by
No.
any member?
Sorry, Chair, before I proceed, can check from the NCOP.
Yes, you are totally right.
Can
Thank you. Thank you for the advice.
yeah, yes.
Yeah. Let your colleague give us apologies.
Good morning, Chairperson.
Morning, dear.
Honorable members, Minister DM and colleagues. At the moment, we have not received any apologies.
Okay.
But from our side, our members present is Honorable Khai, the Chairperson, Honorable Matevula, Honorable Mamregane, Honorable Lont, Honorable Moimang, Honorable Dango, and Honorable Boshoff. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. It's a full compliment. Thank you so much.
Hello.
Then, hello? Yes.
Honorable Aden is also present. She did not mention me.
Okay, thank you for your presence. Thank you so much. Let's move, honorable members. Anyone? Any move for the adoption of the agenda? Honorable members, where are you? Are you muted?
I raise a hand, Chairperson.
Oh, King must assist me. Honorable Libengo, you must use the technology one.
Chairperson, I move for the adoption of the agenda.
The adoption has been moved. Any secondment?
Dango seconds.
Thank you, Honorable Dengo. Honorable members, allow me now to welcome and acknowledge the presence of the Minister and the Deputy Minister in our midst. Honorable members, you are warmly welcome. This is your committee. We would like to hear from you. I will now request our Honorable Minister just to give us a short political overview, since this thing is a new normal to us, so that she can hand over her officials to present their presentation. Honorable Minister, it's your time.
Thank you, Chairperson, for the opportunity. Good morning to the Chairperson and of both the Portfolio Committee and the Select Committee, and honorable members of the Select Committee, the Deputy Minister, and the team that is supporting us. We appreciate the opportunity given to us by the Portfolio Committee and the Select Committee, and the good cooperative relationship that we have, that we can engage together and make sure there is progress. I must from the outset clearly state that this remains work in progress, because as the Minister of Finance has said, the budget is not the last time that there may be a supplementary budget. There might be for a supplementary budget. As you have said it correctly, the coronavirus is a deadly disease. It's not only killing lives, but it's also killing lives. And depending on the state at which businesses and small businesses are affected, we may have to continue to do other adjustments. As we are talking today and presenting today, we're still engaging with National Treasury on other possible sources of funding that may be available, but also on other possible sources of cuts that may be available. As we present the amendments that we're going to do, we are presenting, you must also note that we're trying to direct a seamless working relationship between the department and the agencies, so that our work is aligned. It still remains work in progress, and we'll clean up and come back to that. One matter I need to emphasize is that there's been an oversight which will clearly sort out. Our emphasis on cooperatives is not enough in terms of the documentation, but the work that's on hand is enough, because we've got programs that support cooperatives dedicatedly, to make sure that the cooperative sector also become a very strong sector in our economy, because majority of us know that we grew up and knowing successful businesses that emerge from cooperatives. The other issue I need to bring to your attention, and we may need the support of both the portfolio committee and the select committee, is the matter of continued funding or support to the small businesses, both the department and the agencies in the national budget scheme. To date, we have been engaging with the National Credit Guarantee Scheme. You should be aware that the National Credit Guarantee that was announced by National Treasury, which is guaranteed by the Reserve Bank and the private banks, has not benefited majority of our small businesses, in particular those owned by Black people. We have engaged we are engaging with National Treasury and the Reserve Bank on the matter, because we think that we must directly participate as the agency, SIFA in particular, and we are going to give to ensure that our people have access to the National Credit Guarantee Scheme. Government cannot put 300 billion rands, and that 300 billion rands remains only available to few members of the banking sector. We feel that it must be available to all small businesses, including informal and micro and cooperatives, and that engagement with National Treasury is taking place. When the discussion succeeded or not succeeded, we'll keep the portfolio committee briefed. But we may want to request the portfolio committee and select committee to invite the Reserve Bank to explain why participation in the National Credit Guarantee Scheme is only limited to banks, to the 5 big banks, and not to the other funding agencies, including DFIs, when they know that the banks have never catered for the majority of our people. The Reserve Bank money is the money of this republic, is not money of individual banks. And our view is that we need to participate, and the select committee must actively engage on that. And we have done our bit. We are engaging with Treasury. We are hoping for successful collaboration, but we must indicate that National Treasury are also very supportive of our position, and maybe we may succeed. With that, Chairperson, I'd like to invite the Acting Director General of the department to present. And just before members ask me when are we filling the position of the Director General, the processes of filling has commenced. The shortlisting is underway. We'll soon come back to you and unveil new from the box our Director General, and we are confident that we will make the right appointment. Thank you, Chairperson. DG, over to you.
Thank you, Minister. DG, over to you. But according to the program, is SIDA which must start.
Okay, we can invite the Chairperson of SIDA. I would have thought we could do the DG so that we can have a seamless, but we can get in the Chairperson of SIDA.
It's good that the department did the last to participate.
Okay, fine. Let's go with the program. We can have SIDA presenting. We are ready. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Can I go through? Can I start?
Yes, start, dear.
Okay,
we're
right.
waiting. Thank you.
Okay. No, thank you very much, Chairperson, Minister, Deputy Minister, Acting DG, Chair of SIFA, and honorable members, good morning. I'm just quickly going to do the presentation, then I'll hand over an introduction, then I'll hand over to our Acting CEO to get into details on what the members had requested that we present to you. As you know, the COVID pandemic came with serious implications globally, and already in South Africa, in the already weak South African economy had been significantly impacted. The GDP has contracted, unemployment levels have worsened to 30%. Many businesses have shut down their doors, mostly in tourism and hospitality, as well as retail and manufacturing industry. So we have also done a survey just to find out from SMMEs what the fears are, what the impact is, together with the national survey as well, the National Small Businesses also conducted a survey. From those surveys, we've seen that over 75% will only be back to businesses at level 2 or at level 1. 94% of them are either in cash flow crisis situation or will be so within the next few weeks. And 63% have laid off their workforce and expect to do so within the next few weeks. So this is the operational context that we find ourselves as SEDA. Our strategic objectives are still to improve access to business development through ecosystem facilitation, to advance access to information, to improve access to shared services through SMME platforms, as well as to increase provision of sector-specific technical support to SMME. So how do we do this in the context that we are finding, in the operational context that we are finding ourselves into? So we have said with the strategic objectives that I've mentioned, we are going to embed our strategy in collaborative partnerships, in looking at co-locations, district facilitation model, collaborations with CIFA and other partners, also increasing enterprise development within the private sector, digitalization, automation, as well as being the lead incubator. So what has changed in response? So what we are presenting today is what has changed in response to COVID-19 from where we are sitting. As I mentioned earlier, we are looking at our digital platforms, and in our digital platforms, we are looking at a business advisory and mentorship platform. We're looking at an export and development and market access platform, fast tracking of district information system, and we are saying let's look at upscaling high impact cooperatives initiatives. We are focusing on business sustainability, with so many businesses closing doors and shedding jobs. The members have always mentioned, or they've always reminded us on the emphasis and the priority of township and rural focus. So we have done we've done quite a bit on that. Remote incubation, our acting CE will expand on what we mean by remote incubation and what are some of the things that we are doing. We have essential products as well that we will continue, focusing on them through this period, and also our current operational pivot. Just to summarize, and the CE will get into details on exactly what has changed from our side, things that we have decreased, the numbers that we have decreased on the targets that we had presented to the committee previously. It's number of new jobs created and sustained. I mean, I'm sure all the members are aware of what is happening in the economy, how many organizations are closing down and how many people are being retrenched. So we had quite ambitious numbers that we had set ourselves as targets that the clients that we will be servicing will be creating. So those we have become more realistic, and we have reduced the numbers that we previously had said we will help the SMEs create and sustain. Partnerships as well. I mean, one of the things that we had said and that we're driving as a board, we're going to drive partnership, private partnership in particular, so that we can get more monies and more sponsorship from private partners. But realistically, with what is happening, we know that it's a matter of survival. So most people are looking into sustaining their businesses instead of handing out more money outside. So that as well, we have reduced the target on the value that will be leveraged from partners. What we do as well, or what we like doing at SEDA, we like training our service providers so that they can deliver at the level and the quality that we wanted. What we have decided to look inward, and the training that we'll be giving will be more for our staff instead of service providers. So those the numbers there we have also reduced. What we have increased though, we have improved service access. So you will see the number of spaza shop owners that will be assisting. We have quadrupled. You will see that also the information centers as well as co-locations that we have targeted for in this period has also increased. We are also focusing on technical transfer. We are also looking at increasing turnover. So we are saying that if we will assist our SMMEs in getting access to finances, if we will also assist through the pitching program for them to increase their turnover. Also, we are saying the partnerships with the private sector, we will see how we can work with them so that we can assist the SMMEs, that our clientele, to increase their turnover. On the finances and budget, I think that the acting CEO as well as the CFO, I think we have our CFO here, acting CFO, they will talk on the finances and the budget. The one thing that I would want to highlight is that we have reduced our budget by 81 million over this period. I also wanted to highlight as well that the 2021 budget is 928 million as opposed to 1 million that we had in the 2019-2020 period. Chairperson, I think I will now hand over to our acting CEO to do her presentation so that she give the members more details. She will talk to the presentation that had already been circulated to the members. Thank you, Chairperson. I'll hand over now to our acting CEO.
Thank you. Let him present.
Ms. Majola, over to you.
Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, we can.
Yes,
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning to Chairperson and honorable members, to the Minister, DG, and all the colleagues from the department. I will not go through the whole document page by page, but in going through the presentation, I will emphasize the changes from the last time we were at the portfolio committee. The Chairperson has touched on some of the points that relate to the current operational environment. The only point that I think I would like to emphasize is the fact that the SEDA, through the board, we undertook a survey of about close to 2,000 small businesses, just under 1,900 small businesses in March, to gauge the impact of COVID on their businesses. We understand that was at an early stage when we did this, but from that time already, they could tell us what were the foreseen challenges. I think about 41% of the businesses that we surveyed, they said they could still navigate during COVID, but about 50% of the businesses that we surveyed saw COVID as a real threat to the existence of their businesses. So one of the points that I wanted to highlight that is very key to our strategy in the current financial year is the fact that we'll be rolling out the district ecosystem facilitation model. I will not overemphasize that point because we have mentioned it to the committee previously. I also wanted to indicate that in response to the external environment and the challenges that are posed by COVID-19, we have aligned our programs to those of the department as well as the expectations of the committee, and I will mention each one of them as I go through the indicators, especially where we'll be highlighting the changes. I also wanted to highlight, as Chairperson has indicated, because this was also a question when we presented our fourth quarter report last time, that we have gone out on a digitization drive to balance our delivery model. We will be finalizing an e-mentorship platform that is going to be used by our business advisors as well as service providers in consulting with clients. This project should be completed at the end of August. We also working on a platform for an export facilitation program. In both of these, we are assisted by the EU-funded EDSE program, which is based in the department. We've just finalized an e-learning program that we first want to train our business advisors on, so that they are able to conduct assessments, and our training specialists are able to conduct training for clients in virtual platforms. We will also be doing pitching virtually. Every year we hold a summit in partnership with the in partnership with Innovation Summit. This year is going to focus specifically on women in tech. Because we are already advertising that is also going to be conducted virtually. So currently we are utilizing a hybrid delivery model. We're taking limited numbers of people at branches because our staff is also as exposed to the pandemic. We find ourselves we close a branch almost every week. There's a branch that has to close for disinfecting and all the precautions that are required in line with the regulations, because someone has picked up the virus. So I think that's the new normal we're operating in, but we are not excluding clients that do not have access to data. But I think it's also something that we want to present to the committee that needs to be taken up with other relevant committees like COCTA and municipalities to have areas that are Wi-Fi free in the townships as well. Some municipalities have done that so that people have access to services. I'm then going to move to slide 6, which has our impact statement. We contribute to priority number 2, and our outcomes is improved service access for SMMEs, increasing turnover of the businesses that we assist, increases number of people that are employed by the small businesses that we assist, as well as improving our own organizational excellence. Our strategic objective is the business development through ecosystem facilitation, access to information, improving access to shared services through SMME platforms, which we've already started working on. And the other important one is provision of sector-specific support as opposed to moving away from generic business development support. In this slide, we are going to highlight what is different from what we presented previously. The target for spaza shops increased so that it's in line with the 30,000 spazas that we're supposed to be working with on an annual basis. On SMMEs that are participating in export development, the number also increased from 3,000 in the previous financial year to 35,731 in the next MTSF period. And I want to emphasize that this year the assistance even to export development is going to be more visual through partnerships. On SMMEs accessing finance, we also revised the target from 20,000 to 45,460, so it went up. So is the number of small businesses that get assisted through information center. Number of business development providers, we reduced the number because we wanted to allocate more of the budget to business development services. On SMMEs that access finance through pitching, the target also increased from the previous target that we had. On number of tech startup enterprises that are supported, we reduced the target on this one, and the main reason for reducing the target is because part of this indicator was going to be, or this target was going to be achieved through the incubators. So after we reduced the budget of the incubators, we then cut the budget of a startup tech enterprises. I wanted to emphasize that it's not necessarily generic startup enterprises, but it's tech enterprises. Number of small businesses that are getting assistance through technology transfer assistance, we increased that target because of the focus on small businesses that are producing essential products. This is a program within CEDA that is meant to assist small businesses with access to technology. So hence we increased this target. We also increased the target for small businesses that will be assisted with conformity assessments. This refers to product testing and certification, quality standards. Also, for the same reason that applies to technology assistance, is small businesses that will be producing essential products and services. Support leverage from partners, we reduced the target because we are anticipating that it will not be as easy, because all businesses will be limited financially or constrained financially. It may not be possible for us to raise as much money as we've always been able to from other stakeholders. A number of small businesses that access government procurement, we increased the target. We reduced turnover because of the economic environment that we are operating in. We also reduced the number of jobs for the same reason. We reduced the number of jobs sustained, but we reduced it marginally, not by a big number. This is the target for, this is over and above the spaza shops, the business development services that is offered to small businesses that are producing for specific markets. This target you will see in the APP, it includes all the support programs that have been launched by the department, the aftermarket, automotive sector, bakeries, and confectionaries. All of those programs are included in this business development component. We've not unpacked it in detail, but this is where you get business plans, you get feasibility studies, you get training, you get all the services that are offered at a CEDA branch. I will skip this slide because there isn't a lot of difference, and then move on to the APP, which is just a breakdown of what we've already presented in our strategy document, just for the members to see how the targets are broken down over the MTEF period, as well as on a quarterly basis. You see on this slide on the left-hand side is the rollout of the district ecosystem facilitation model, the breakdown of the spaza shop targets over the different quotas, the standards, the co-location points that we want to roll out. I will not go through everything in detail. This is our incubation support program and the breakdown of their target over the MTF period. And I think for the members, what will be of more interest, the tech startup enterprises, the digital hubs, which is also a key area of focus for our incubation programs, especially in the townships, the breakdown of the technology assistance program, quality and standards, incubation standards, so that you see what we're doing in that area, pitching, number of incubation centers and digital hubs that are going to be rolled out in the townships as well as in the rural areas. So I won't go through the rest of the document because it's okay. I think this is the slide that I wanted to highlight to the members as well. Number of SMMEs accessing government procurement. We note the emphasis and the comment on cooperatives, and they are part of the programs that will be offering to SMMEs. This is a slide that I wanted to highlight on number of SMMEs accessing business development services. These are all the programs that have been launched by the department, and some are still going to be launched by the department. This is that big target for business development services that I said encompasses most of the interventions, if not all of the interventions that are offered to small businesses. I also wanted to highlight is a point that was raised by Honorable Kruger previously on what are we doing to assist the already existing businesses. There are at least 2 programs that are still going to be launched by the department specifically for existing businesses. CEDA is part of that. One of them is business viability, and the second one is the manufacturing support programs. Those are some of the key programs that are aimed at sustaining already existing businesses. This is just a breakdown to address the specific target groups in line with the percentages that are required by government. I will then hand over to our CFO, acting CFO, to give you a summary of our budget.
Over to you, CFO.
Elias, you're on the floor.
Good morning, honorable members, chairperson and CEO. I'm trying to share the slide. Good morning again. I'll start from point 10, which is an overview of the 2019 and up to 2034, the medium-term expenditure framework amount. In terms of the budget application, SEDA applies the zero-based budgeting approach, which ensures that only value-added activities are included in the budget. Then I will move to the next paragraph. In terms of the budget allocation, the budget allocation was reduced by an amount of 81 million over the term expenditure framework period in 1920. This was due to the budget cut that we get from National Treasury. In that year, 1920, National Treasury approved that we use an amount of 95.3 million from the surplus. Then in terms of the budget for the 2021, SEDA is sitting at 928 million, which is lesser than the 1 billion budget that we received in the financial year 2019-20. The reason for the budget to reach an amount of 1 billion was because of the approval that we got from National Treasury. Then the next slide, we're showing the actual budget of 1920 and the budget for the 2021 to 2024. We are currently sitting with the budget of 928 million as the total income, and the total expenditure is sitting again as 928 million. The biggest part of our budget goes to the compensation of employees, the amount of 407 million, which is about 44% of our budget. Then the goods and services, we budgeted for 473 million, which is about 51%, and the 27 million goes to capital expenditure, which amounts to 2.9%. In terms of the unaudited financial statement, we are sitting surplus of about 11 million from the budget. From the revenue of 942, we managed to get a total expenditure of 931 million. The reason for the surplus is mainly due to the capex that was not delivered, and some of the exhibition and events were cancelled towards year end due to the COVID-19, and smaller surplus coming from the vacancies. Then I will move to the next slide, where we show the asset and liabilities. The largest asset is cash and cash equivalent, while the trade and other payables make up a sizable portion of the liabilities. This is mainly consist of the money that SEDA received from stakeholders and partners to be used for the specific project. We're currently sitting with a cash of 204 from the 2019-20 draft annual financial statement, and then we estimate the cash to be 151 million for the 2021. Then the liabilities at year end, we were sitting at trade and other payables of 121 millions. These are mainly the accruals and the provisions that are for shorter period. We normally pay them after 30 days after the financial year end. Then in terms of the cash flow projections, is just a repeat of what was there on the balance sheet. Our estimate cash flow was 204. We expect it to be 151 million, and then it will gradually go down as the years are continuing from financial year 2021 to 2034. Then in terms of the capital expenditure and expenditure per program, SEDA branches need to be equipped to service the large volume of clients and also to reach clients in outlying areas. As a result, the information and communication technology infrastructure is being capacitated to address the digital challenges and the ICT performance. For the financial year 2021, we budgeted an amount of 27 million for the capital infrastructure. We hope to increase it again in the financial year 21-22 up to 23-24 by an amount of 20 million onwards. And for the financial year 2019-20, we managed to spend an amount of 14 million improving our capital infrastructure. Then in terms of the budget amount allocated per the programs, SEDA's 3 programs mainly consist of the administration, the enterprise development, and the SEDA technology program. For the financial year 2021, we allocated an amount of 215 million to the administration, which is 23% of our budget. Then the enterprise development division is 60% of our budget, is 553 million. This amount includes an amount of 80 million that we transferred from the SEDA technology program to increase the spending on the and informal support. As you can see that last year, the SEDA technology of 273 million. Currently, the budget is sitting at 160 million because we cut the money that we normally pay to the incubators and channel it to the enterprise development division. That is the end of the financial report. Thank you.
Thank you. According to our program, the next presentation will be from SIFA. Can SIFA get on board?
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Let me start by acknowledging Honorable Chairperson Khai, Honorable Minister, Honorable DM, Honorable members, Honorable Jacobs, and the acting DG and the Chairperson of SEDA. In the room, I have the CEO, acting CEO of SIFA, Mr. Mulepo, Mr. Dex, who's the head of strategy at SIFA. The executives of SIFA, the other executives of SIFA are connected online. And perhaps specifically as SEDA has done, we'll be switching later for the CEO. I should just, for the CFO, I must just indicate to give you the reflections on the financial side. Just in summary, the CEO will deal with the detail of the presentation, as was the case with SEDA. But on my side, maybe just to highlight a few points. The key point is the fact that indeed, as we've reported before, we've also been affected by COVID, and you would see in the corporate plan that the key thing that we highlight there is the impact, the negative impact of COVID in the budget of SIFA, and more specific, as to highlight the critical point is to highlight the impact of concessional rates over the MTSF period, but also the risk of rising impairments, as would logically be the case, because the lendings we've done or the financing that we provided to SMEs during COVID, a lot of them carry a lot of risk. So we do project that there will be impairments, a rise on the impairment side, which in our forecast will begin to rein in the outer years of the MTSF. Perhaps the other question that we should raise is that in light of that, the key point on this presentation relates to our response as is expected, and our response is mainly informed. We'll move from our point of departure rather is from the phases as penned out by government. The 3 phases, particularly the key critical one. The first one is to preserve the economy, as you've seen in the coherent approach that government had been responding. But also the second one, the second phase relating to the recovery from the crisis and repositioning the economy for faster growth post-COVID. I agree with the minister that the issue of COVID, none of us know how long it's going to last with us, and we're moving in very shaky ground, so there might be changes as we move on. We acknowledge that, we are alive to that fact. So moving forward, in the plan, you would see that we're looking at more of a dual focus in terms of approach, being the response to COVID on the one hand, and the other one being rebuilding the economy. And in that, it is known by now that SIFA, in relation to response to COVID, we focused mainly on the SME Relief Fund the Business Growth Fund and the moratorium and other support measures to our existing clientele, including people that are tenants in the properties that SIFA owns. So that has been the response on that part. And going forward, our interventions are packaged in programs that are aimed at stimulating the rural and township entrepreneurship areas, particularly the 8 programs that we have started. Some of them will be rolling out as we move on, including the Spaza support program. In total, the programs that we're talking about going forward amount to a total of 1.23 billion, which the CFO would reflect, the CEO would reflect on the CFO in their presentations. Perhaps one other issue to highlight is the reality that SIFA had been increasingly challenged to increase its performance precisely because of the challenge that faces the economy or the SME sector as the economy is under pressure. And in that, we recognize the need for us to strengthen the delivery capacity of the organization. And on that front, like CEDA, we're looking at automation of the SIFA system so that we're able to respond faster. Our experience during COVID did in fact highlight that area very strongly. And the other point is to look at strengthening the capacity of the establishment, as in the people that we hire at SIFA. We're looking at some kind of measured interventions on that front to make sure that as the pressure increases and the number of programs that we're supposed to implement come through, we are able to respond effectively. Noting very well that there is a need for us to be very measured, as I said, in terms of the not increasing cost excessively on the establishment. We are still very focused on our intent to consolidate the integration of work between us and SIDA. It's reflected also in the presentation, and the collaboration, as the Minister also indicated, with the department itself on all the interventions aimed at assisting SMMEs. And lastly, critical point for us is to improve, as we've heard and you've heard yourselves, about people complaining that they can't access SIFA. We're working on measures to increase visibility of SIFA, but also to increase accessibility, part of it being through co-locations with SIDA, and looking at other measures that would be the electronic or otherwise. And also, of course, we have a call center that we use for that purpose, for people to access us. Let me stop there, Chair, with those words and hand over to Dr. Mulepo.
Thank you, Chair. The chairperson, Honorable Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Ms. Wela, the chairperson of the Select Committee, Date Gai, Minister Nchabeni, Deputy Minister Tsapa, honorable members of both the Portfolio Committee and the Select Committee, and the chairs of SIDA and SIFA, the ADG, the acting CEO of SIDA, and all colleagues from the department and the agencies. I think, as it has already been mentioned, ours is to make sure that we move with speed, just to highlight the areas that have changed since we came to present to the committee. And therefore, I will be jumping a number of slides that were referred to at the time so that we can cover time. And then after that, I will hand over to the CFO to also deal with the changes that we have implemented in our corporate plan and APP so that we can be able to then end the presentation. I think it is important maybe just to start off with that those will be the areas that the presentation outline. However, as mentioned, I will not be taking the members through all of them. And maybe it is just important to say that from slide number 11, when we look at the overview of SIFA strategy over the MTEF period, those are the areas that we are looking at in terms of our medium-term expenditure roadmap, which we have alluded to in the previous presentation. I think it is also important to mention the fact that we really take our cue as an organization from the board, but importantly, ensuring that we align with the department's outcomes. And two of the department's outcomes that we are aligning with refers to the economic transformation and job creation. The other one is the capable, ethical, and development state. And we have got, therefore, the medium-term strategic framework interventions, what CIFA's interventions would be, and how then that contributes towards our medium-term strategic framework period in terms of our budget. I think you will see, Honorable Chairs, that the loan approvals that we are looking at for the 5 years is well over 13 billion, with loan disbursements of just under 10 billion. And that is really what we are looking at. And you will also see that we have got other approved, to COVID, and also the township and the rural entrepreneurship fund of well over 2.1 billion. And also that then translate into the other targeted groups, women, youth, and people with disability. I think it is also important, and one will see in the presentations that we are looking at, that indeed township economy and rural and villages is really key and at the center of everything else that we are going to be doing, henceforth. So the Department of Small Business Development Outcomes and CIFA's goals are captured in that particular slide, where our outcome 1 is creating more decent jobs, obviously, and secondly, the inclusive economic growth, and that then impacts on 4 areas, which are the themes that we have captured through our corporate plan. And as I said before, this we have, mentioned, and they can members can be able to go through those. Maybe just to go to slide number 16, the CIFA corporate plan programs. Firstly, it is aligned to access to finance. When you look at our vision and our strategic objectives, the most important thing is to make sure that there is access, to finance by SMMEs and cooperatives. And we are using, 3 channels of lending within CIFA, which is the wholesale lending channel, the direct lending channel, and also the cooler credit guarantee. But in this particular slide, we also are emphasizing on the informal and microfinance. And later on, when I talk about the programs that we are going to be rolling out in line with the economic recovery, strategies, one will see that many of them are actually aligned around how we can increase and innovatively expand access to the deeper rurals, areas of this country, but importantly, informal businesses as well, and ensuring that we reduce cost to the end users, to the informal and our micro enterprises. Importantly as well is the issue of post-investment. You will know, Chairperson and honorable members, that when we were hit with the advent of COVID, there were programs that we actually embarked on, led by the Department of Small Business Development, which were the relief programs. It is going to be important for us to make sure that we handhold all those businesses that were helped during that time, to make sure that we build a sustainable investee companies, and ensuring that those that may still be having challenges, we can go in there and provide the technical support that is required in ensuring that we save jobs and this economy will grow. The third leg around our program is our corporate services. And this includes our financial and supply chain management, our human capital management, the information and communication technology, corporate strategy and reporting. I think we will, all of us agree that at the center of everything else, SIFA needs to facilitate and support and attract and retain, talent in ensuring that all of the plans that we are outlining today will be executed, as to the best of our ability. But it is also important as well that we need to continue being frugal, making sure that as we procure goods and services, we follow the supply chain management policies as well. Then we also have got the marketing and stakeholder management. It is going to be important, and SIFA will be going out in collaboration with the department and our sister organization, SEDA, to make sure that we go out to all the parts of the country to sensitize and ensure that we continuously engage them around all the programs that we are going to embark on. Because it is important to make sure that at every area of this country, everyone is aware of the things that we are doing and information and where they can access all these programs and schemes that we will be rolling out. And of course, last but not least is the issue of compliance, governance. We are operating within, a highly regulated environment, regulated by a whole lot of pieces of legislations, amongst others, the PFMA. It is important, therefore, that we have got very, very strong governance and risk and compliance area where we ensure at all times that we trade within, the required, regulatory framework, but importantly as well, where we identify risks, come up with mitigants of how best to deal with some of those risks. Lastly, it is the issue of the property management. SIFA has got a portfolio of properties that we are managing. You would know when we came to the portfolio committee that many of the tenants that are occupying SIFA buildings were also affected by the advent of COVID-19. And we had to provide, certain, payment holidays of their rental. So we have to efficiently manage these properties to make sure that they continue supporting the SMMEs by providing obviously affordable and conducive accommodation. But importantly, going back to make sure that as we then go into the economic recovery mode, many of those that were affected, we help them in restructuring some of the rentals that they were owing us, so that at the end of the day, they are in a position to can pay a SIFA. Now, the loan program strategies and outcomes for the 5 years, based on the lending channels that I have mentioned, are actually encapsulated on slide number 19 and slide number 20. And you will see that throughout this particular slide, we indicate the areas where we will be putting each and every one of the programs that I would later on, talk about. Minister indicated this issue of the 200 billion, guarantee. And the department has actually engaged SIFA already around us ensuring that we put up a plausible, case to ensure that this particular benefit reaches everyone in this country, and therefore SIFA becomes a vehicle that will ensure that through our cooler credit guarantee, we can reach some of the SMMEs in the country. Now, the loan book outcomes is as per the numbers that have been indicated. I think it will be shown that through our direct lending, where a number of the programs that I'll talk to are actually going to be executed through, and also through the cooler credit guarantee. That's where we are seeing the bulk of what we will be doing in the next 5 years. And those are just the developmental impact that we will be measuring ourselves as we will be embarking on the economic recovery program. The interventions that were embarked on, one, to mitigate the impact of COVID, but importantly, to also stimulate entrepreneurship are outlined from slide number 22 to 24, and thereafter I will hand over to the CFO. The first ones that we have already dealt with, and I will not repeat, were the SMME debt relief, the business growth, resilience, and where SEFA provided a number of payment holidays to the portfolio that we are managing. And you will see that for the 6 months where we provided that, a holiday both on capital and interest, it is, in the region of 171 million rands. Now, when we go to the interventions that we will be embarking on to stimulate rural and township entrepreneurship, one of those programs is the Spaza Shop Support Program that has been allocated, 175 million rands. The president of the country has given us a vision that says we need to make sure that we reach as much as possible, up to 100,000 of the Spaza shops in the country. So as an organization, we have put aside this money so that we can roll out, the program in helping Spaza shop operators, firstly with a grant portion of 3,500, and then thereafter providing them an additional 3,500 credit guarantee in order for them to access the goods and services that they will be buying through a network of wholesalers that we have got a partnership with. We will also be rolling out the small-scale manufacturing, where we can start the manufacturing, process in the country, informal clothing and textile. This is a joint, and we'll be working jointly with SEDA as well in ensuring that we look at how do we enhance skills in this area so that many of, people that are already, occupying this space can supply some of the PPEs that we need during this advent of COVID-19. The other one is the bakeries and confectionaries, where again, through the department, we will look at how we can unlock markets so that those businesses that are based in this sector can at least get procurement opportunities. And once those procurement opportunities are brought forward, SEFA will put together funding, and they will be again working as a DSBD portfolio together with SEDA as well. And other programs is your auto body, repairers and mechanics. I think all of us are aware that when you go into rural areas or townships, on the side of the roads, you are finding many of our people who are fixing, your exhaust pipes and changing tires and so on. The scheme really is geared towards ensuring that these people, once they are provided with the relevant skills and they are registered, they can access capital in order to buy relevant equipment to ensure that they're efficient in all what they are doing. The fruit and vegetable hawkers, the hairdressers and personal care, and then lastly, chisanyama and cooked food vendors. This will go to, the amount of money that has actually been allocated is, around 1.23 billion rands in ensuring that we can unlock, opportunities in rural areas and the townships. I will hand over to our CFO just to also highlight on the areas of change that are part of the revised corporate plans.
Good afternoon, members. Good afternoon, Chair. I will be sharing my screen shortly.
I said. Let me help my.
Yes, CEO, I don't know what's happening. Can you share from your side? Okay, I will control it from my side. It's fine, CEO. Is it possible for you to put it into a presentation format? CEO, can you put the presentation? Yes, thank you very much. SIFA is forecasted to maintain a 100% cost to income ratio in the next 5 years. Unfortunately, for the first year, which is the year 2021, which is the current year, SIFA will not be able to maintain this 100% cost to income ratio, and we are going to exceed this ratio. We will end up at 122%. And I will explain later on in the presentation some of the reasons for why we will not be able to generate adequate income to cover our costs in the current year. As the chair had said, I will really concentrate only on the items that have been affected by COVID, and also just the appropriation bill that we received last week. If you go to number 3, you will see that the original TEF funds, which were the township entrepreneurial funds that we had previously, these have now been rechanneled into post-economic recovery funds. But unfortunately, they will have an effect on SIFA's financial sustainability, where SIFA will attract concessionary rates on these, and also most of these funds will now be channeled as grants of up to 50% grant income. SIFA is still dependent, if you go to number 6, on the reflows from the COVID-19 to remain financially sustainable. Without these reflows, SIFA will not be financially sustainable. The other effects of COVID, if I go to number 7 on the headcount, you will see that there was an effect on our headcount due to COVID, where we've increased headcount by 38 FTCs and 11 permanent headcounts. There has also been additional allocations to KCG, and I'm on number 10 now through the COVID-19 again economic recovery funds. CEO, can you go to the next slide? CEO, can you go to the next slide for me? Thank you very much. The interest income has really been affected by COVID, and it is the one line item in our statement of profit and loss that has been affected majorly by the COVID pandemic. The COVID-19 interest rates that we are attracting on COVID are concessionary. We have lent, especially on the SME debt relief, we've lent funds at prime less 5%, which has really affected the income that SIFA is earning. And if you recall, members, SIFA is a Schedule 2, and it is expected to actually make a profit and is not supposed to be relying on government grants. So the concessionary rates that SIFA has been earning have really been affecting SIFA's bottom line. We've also granted payment holidays. The CEO has already alluded to this in his presentation, which has affected SIFA's cash flow by approximately 170 million in the current year. This was 6 months holidays that were given to the direct lending clients, wholesale clients, and also the properties portfolio clients. There's also been delays in disbursements of the SBF and EU loans in the previous year, which have obviously reduced the loan book as at the year end. The reduction in the repo rate has also made a huge impact on SIFA and SIFA's ability to earn interest. As you all are aware, the repo rate has been decreasing, and SIFA is reliant on interest income as its source of income, and this has really made a huge difference on SIFA's balance sheet. The increase in impairments rate also as a result of COVID, because the revised financials ended up with us increasing the impairment rate because of COVID, obviously, and the impact of the economy of COVID-19, this again has had quite a huge impact on our interest. Then rechanneled into the post-economic recovery funds. Unfortunately, these do attract concessionary rates and mostly are grant income. You will see, members, we've shown on the screen the two tables where you can see the pre-COVID-19 interest, what it was going to be, and the interest over the 5 years, and you can see the adjustment budget, and there has been major reductions in the interest based on the factors that I've just mentioned. CEO, can you go to the next slide? CEO, can you go to the next slide? CEO, can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, I'm going to try and take control again and see if I'm able to this time. The following slide is just really a recap of what the CEO has mentioned earlier on, and also the sources of funds. We will see, I did, members, manage to take over the slides. It actually shows us the source of funds, with the major source of funds coming from the department, DSBD. There were some funds allocation also from SEDA, and then CFA also from our MTF budgets. We've done a reprioritization from our direct lending funds and microfinance of 113. And then we also have, through the DTIC, there's a manufacturing competitive enhancement program where we've also allocated 250 million from this budget. And then what this table is doing is just really to show where each amount is coming from. And the 1.1 billion at the bottom on the first column really aligns to the appropriation bill that members received. And then there's the additional funds that we've talked about, mostly coming from previous years underspent from the department, SEDA and CFA. And the DTIC has allocated 200 million for CFA to run the manufacturing competitive enhancement program. And CFA has also allocated their own 113 million. If we go to the headcount, we've already discussed, I'm really going to go through this very quickly, where we've established that as a result of COVID, there will be additional headcounts that may have to be hired. But again, there are processes around the hiring of this headcount. There are engagements between CFA and the department, as we are aware that there are certain discussions in terms of a new organization. So we are very aware of that, and hiring will take place through certain processes that will take place. Payments, we've already discussed that there will be an impact on impairments as a result of COVID, and we can see the original budget before COVID, we had estimated that our impairment rates were going to be 41%, but we do see now that with the 33% prior COVID, and now we are forecasting for impairments to go up to 40%. The effect on cash, again, there has been an effect on cash, and it's really as a factor of the 4 items that we've discussed, which is the interest rates, which have been affected by many things, including the repo rate and the concessionary rates that we are also attracting on these. Then there is the impairments and the additional headcounts. And again, you can see, members, that if you compare the pre-COVID-19 cash assets year, FY 2025, we would have had 3.3 billion pre-COVID. After COVID, we're only going to end up at 2.2 billion. Thank you, members. And then the last slide is really just our key indicators. We've mentioned this already, that the cost to income ratio, at this point, we are not able to keep it at 100% due to some of the items that we've mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. For the benefit of time, the next slide deals with the balance scorecard. I guess we need not present that. It's much easier for people, for honorable members to follow. So if you would allow us, Chair, we'll skip that one, the balance scorecard slides that follow, and hand over back to you. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Sifa. Thank you for the presentation. We'll now move to the next item, which is presentation by the department. Over to you, DG.
Thank you, Chair, Minister, Deputy Minister, honorable members and colleagues. I'll try and stick to the brief that you provided, Chair, the guidance that we must stick to presenting on the changes only and not cover everything or represent our documents.
DG, you're on mute.
We can't hear you, DG. Can you unmute? DG, we can't hear you.
Oh, yes. Sorry about that. I hope I'm audible now.
Yeah, we can hear you now. Proceed.
Yeah. Okay. Chair, I was saying I'll stick to just the key slides. This one is very important because we are trying to indicate what we'll be focusing on, particularly this year. The first section talks to performance-related matters that we'll be focusing on. There are quite a number of interventions, particularly focusing on township and township entrepreneurship fund that we've developed and we have implemented through SIFA. It's going to be a priority in terms of our targets going forward. Also, there are key programs that we are working on, the ACT localization program. And then on administration related, I know that there's been a number of questions around our structure, that we are working on that structure. And there will be program changes looking at sector and market development, development finance, which is a program that we have not paid a lot of attention to. So, but working on our new structure, it's going to be one of the key programs that will be driving. And then lastly, Chair, the issue of the new single small business support entity. That's what we are working on as directed by Cabinet. It's going to be one of the things that we'll be busy with during this current financial year. Chair, I'll go straight to where there are changes. On this slide, Chair, we have reduced the targets given the challenges that we are facing as a country from 3,000 on the strategic plan. It's critical for us to also indicate what we are changing on the strategic plan because some of the targets are due during this current financial year. So that's why we are projecting that. We are prioritizing localization. In terms of the MTSF, we are expected to develop a policy paper, but what we've done is we are going to be doing the policy paper, but we are prioritizing the program because I think COVID has shown us that we really do need to localize as a country. So we are prioritizing localization program, which we will implement during this current financial year to make sure that we are able to produce our own goods within the country instead of us always relying on imports. Then the next target, Chair, we remove this target but we are saying we are not moving away from BBBE because most people, they always assume that BBBE is supposed to be driven by DTIC only, but there is a space for us. In fact, we have to articulate particular positions, especially around enterprise and supplier development, because it's mostly affect our SMME. So we need to make sure that we play a role there, but we are removing it for this current financial year in particular, pending the discussions that we are having with the DTIC's BBBE Commission. Chair, on this one, again, we reduced the target from 2.5 to 1.5 on the cooperatives exposed to international market opportunities. Because we know that the challenges we are facing, most of the markets are closed, so we have to tread carefully when it comes to the numbers that we project. And then the next one again is 250,000 women. We reduced that to 50,000 because of the challenges that we are facing with the international markets, Chair. Then here, Chair, on the creative industries, honorable members will remember that in terms of the MTSF, we as a department are responsible to deliver the creative industries master plan. Given that we are in the negative territory already, so we try to be moderate and we are focusing on maintaining the share or the value-added growth of the creative industry sector. So we'll have to make sure that even though we are on the negative territory and maintain at least the 4.11%, the same applies to creative industries exports. We need to make sure that we maintain the 4.07%, and as well as the next one in terms of creative industries contribution to employment. We want to maintain it at 4.08%. So all the interventions, we're working closely here with the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, assisting the creative industry sector. Chair, the next one on the annual impact assessment reports on the incubators as well as digital hubs. We reduced the target to 4 because of the MTSF goes has a particular number of years. So it's not 5, but it's going to be 4 because we're already on the year of the MTSF, which is the second year, is 2019-2024. The next one, Chair, is just an alignment on the SME support plan that we have, which is a very important document for us because it tells us how many SMMEs should be supported in a particular district, how many cooperatives should be supported, how many informal business. So we are aligning it with the district development model. So we just wanted to change the name to make sure that we reflect the district development, not the district-based model, because there's nothing like that. Chair, next one that we're revising on the strategic plan, we move this target. I'm sure you've heard SIFA talking about business viability program that we will be driving from next month. We've moved this target to SIFA so that they can implement it 100%. And then next, we reduce the targets on startup from 500,000 to 200,000 over a 5-year period because of the challenges we are facing. The battle that we are facing now as a country is to make sure that the existing entities survive, they don't go down. So we'll be focusing more on those, but we'll also be supporting startup youth businesses, working with provinces as well as other stakeholders. The critical one that we are also driving, Chair, in the initial strategic plan and on the MTSF, it's only reflected at SMME funding policy. We are putting an emphasis here, Chair, on SMEs and cooperatives funding policy, like the Minister articulated earlier on, that we cannot treat cooperatives as a stepchild. So it's going to be an SMEs funding policy that will develop, which is a target that we're supposed to execute by the end of this financial year. Then on the next one, Chair, again, it's a reduction of the target. We had a target of 200,000 competitive small businesses, which are businesses that are expected to contribute mostly when it comes to job creation as well as economic growth. We are reducing that target from 200,000 to 100,000. The next one, Chair, again, is a reduction from 500,000 to 100,000, given the emphasis on ensuring that small businesses as well as those that are in the township and rural areas do survive the storm of COVID. Chair, here is a consolidation of 2 targets that were presented separately because the amendment to the Act, it's mostly for us to be able to establish the Small Enterprise Ombud Service. We are working on that. We are having interactions with the Office of the Chief State Law Advisor. They provided inputs. There are things that we are working on, Chair. The next one, Chair, we corrected something which was a mistake. There is a target there under 6.1. Maintain the baseline target of valid creditors paid in under 20 days on average. So we corrected, we removed that on average, because average it can be 60 days, 70 days. So we are saying under 20 days. So we are emphasizing that we should process and pay our creditors within 20 days, exceeding the target of 30 days that is always spoken about. The next one, Chair, again, it's an emphasis here, the database. We are saying it's both SMMEs and cooperatives database. It should not just be about SMMEs. So we are just striking a balance and making sure that cooperatives are also elevated. Chair, I'll go straight to where there are other changes. Where I've already spoken, I'll skip. I think I've spoken to the average 20 days. It's not going to change that one. And then target, we change on cash flow projections to annual budget. So we just making sure that we are consistent in terms of last year's targets as well as this year's targets. And then on the 7% representation of people with disabilities, there it was put as 7%, but we are saying it should be greater or equal to 7%. So the emphasis there is that we should not be targeting 7%, but 7% should be a minimum. The next one, Chair, we're saying the activities that we had planned to go around district municipalities, talking about our interventions and the programs that we have, we are deferring that to next financial year because we are going to be having challenges, but we'll still be interacting using online platforms, but we're not going to be having those extensive engagements where we go and discuss particular things in town hall settings with the stakeholders. Chair, again, on the next target, the last target on that slide, it's SMEs and cooperatives database. There we are also emphasizing the issue of cooperatives because they were not included in the initial target. We only mentioned SMMEs. Chair, I'll skip again to slide 27. This target of annual trend analysis report, this is still a very critical program or target that we need to execute, but we are deferring it to 2021 so that we have proper systems in place. We also still have a procurement bill that is being discussed, so we need to make sure that it also empowers us in terms of us being able to monitor whether all other government departments as well as state-owned enterprises are spending a minimum of 30% and emphasizing on 40% of that procurement going to women-owned enterprises, 30% going to youth, and then 7% going to person with disabilities. I think I've spoken to the target of triple BE earlier on. Chair, I'll skip that. And then the localization program, I think I've spoken to the issue of us emphasizing the localization program will deliver on this target by Q3. So we've even made sure that we squeeze ourselves and deliver because it's very urgent that we have a localization program as soon as possible. And then on this one, Chair, this target is removed and integrated into a small enterprise development master plan. And then the next slide, slide 28, I think I've spoken to the issue of the bill that we consolidated to one target, but we also decided to stick to what we are able to control, which is the taking our bill to cabinet. That's the amendment we made instead of parliamentary processes, because we know that after cabinet has to go for public consultation. That's a process that takes its own life, and then we'll after that take it through parliamentary processes. Chair, then the next one, SME funding policy. I spoke to this one, that there's an emphasis on the cooperatives that will cover both. The next one, Chair, we also deferred this one due to COVID. I'm sure you've heard that CEDA was instructed to reprioritize its budget to support informal businesses instead of them just operating and doing things that have been doing in the past for the past few years. Then the next one, Chair, that is changed, which is the last target on the slide, we're supposed to have 4 reports, but we are saying it's 3 reports because we know that the 4th quarter ends by the 31st of March, and the report, you can only produce it after the end of a quarter. So it will only fall in within the next financial year. It will not be counted as an achievement during this current financial year. That's why we reduced the number to 3. Chair, the next slide that has some changes is slide 33. Which is a target of 1,000. We had a target of 1,000 for this current financial year. We reduced that to 100 because of the situation we are faced with. We know that we won't be able to achieve 1,000 designated products. The next one, Chair, is product markets. We know that we had some challenges with the construction sector being closed. Now we are starting the processes. So instead of us having 5 product markets, we are targeting 2. The next one, Chair, 25,000. We had a target of 25,000 women-owned businesses registered in the She Trades ZA platform, but we've reduced the target to 10,000 because of the situation we are in, as well as the next target. We've also reduced that one, and we incorporated the target, in fact, to the target before, the one on women-owned enterprises. And then we deferred the target on 500 SMMEs to next financial year because of the situation of the international market, which is currently closed. Chair, on slide 34, there are some changes there that we've made. The first slide there, the first target that is changed is that small enterprise, which is the master plan. We said it would be approved internally, and we'll also take it to our SA cluster, which is what we can control, given the packed agenda of cabinet. So we are sticking to what we can control as a department, which is ensuring that we do this and finalize it this year. Then they also revised the target on 4 quarterly reports. We're saying we'll have 3, I think, using the same reasons that we are indicated a little bit earlier. That the quarters, we can only count up until the 31st of March. Whatever we do, even if it's for quarter or 2021 financial year, we cannot count it if we execute it after the 31st of March. Progress reports on the SMME index, which is a very critical intervention where we measure the health of the SMMEs. Here, we're just putting an emphasis that how many reports are we going to be producing, which this is expressed again in the technical indicator description, where we are saying it's going to be 2, which are going to be done biannually. So every 6 months, we need to assess the health of the SMMEs using the survey. And then here, Chair, we just put an emphasis on the financial support that will be provided to cooperatives, because we had just indicated that it's 1,000 provided with both financial and non-financial. We had to make sure that we also reflect the amount of money that is set aside for cooperatives. Chair, let me go to the last program, the changes there. For some, I've already touched on. We revised this target. It fits into that MTSF target, which was supposed to be 200,000 competitive SMMEs. We reduced the target to 15,000 for this current financial year. 100,000 startup youth, we deferred this one because of what we are facing as a country. That let's finalize and make sure that we focus on SMMEs that are existing and make sure that they survive instead of us going around and trying to assist the new startups. But SEDA will also be assisting in that aspect. 33,000, we removed this target. We're going to make it a cross-cut on all the other interventions that we are doing. The next target, we revised this target to 28,000. We had targeted 100,000, but it's supported through the Township Entrepreneurship Fund. 100 SMEs and cooperatives supported. We removed this target because it falls under those funds that were reprioritized because of COVID. It's going to be utilized to support the manufacturing scheme that we are finalizing now that will assist us to implement localization. On the next slide, Chair, slide 40, we removed this target because the funding was also reprioritized for COVID interventions. It's the money that was transferred to SIFA to implement the interventions that we're working on, which includes business viability as well as the manufacturing support intervention. This one is removed, is integrated in the township and rural enterprise target, the 150,000 informal businesses supported. And then the next one, Chair, it's incorporated. This one was, I think I did speak to this one, that it's been moved to business viability, and SIFA will implement this on our behalf. Then the next one, which is red tape or ease of doing business, we reduced this target from 5 to 2 because of the challenges we are facing as a country. We are unable to go because this involves us having interactions with the small businesses in that particular district to find out what are the challenges they are facing, red tape issues that they are facing in their particular municipalities, engaging with them, engaging with the municipalities, and engaging with all the other stakeholders who are supposed to be part of this process. So we are reducing this target to 2 because we believe that that's what we can achieve during this current financial year. Chair, let me also, for the sake of time, we have the CFO, but let me touch on this one. The National Treasury, what helped us is that we were able to move swiftly in reducing the budget and reprioritizing some of the interventions. So if you look at the middle slide, it's a second column from right, they reduced our goods and services by 28 million. And then they reduced money that's supposed to go to transfers and subsidies by 39 million. And out of the 39 million, they took 29 million from the Township Entrepreneurship Fund, and then took 10 million from Cooperative Incentive Scheme, giving us 67 million. Then what is on the column written reprioritization, that's the money that we swiftly reprioritize for COVID interventions. You'll see that some of the money came from CEDA, some came from PBSDP, the ones that I was talking to a little bit earlier, that funding was reprioritized for manufacturing support. NIBAS money was also reprioritized. Craft CSP, we are not reprioritizing that one. We are implementing the intervention in partnership with the Department of Arts, Culture, Sports, Arts and Culture. And then TF, that's the Township Entrepreneurship Fund, which was cut by 29 million by National Treasury. Chair, let me end there. Those are the changes that we are presenting to the committee for your consideration. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, DG. Are you done, or you want the CFO to come in?
No, Chair. I try to cover what they're supposed to cover so that we save time.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
All right. Thank you. My co-chair, can you take over, please?
Oh, thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Good day to honorable members, honorable minister, honorable deputy minister, honorable members, the leadership of the entities, chairperson of CEDA, CEO, and the CFO, chairperson of SIFA, CEO, and the CFO, and also the members of the public and the media. Let me just indicate, particularly to members of the media and also the public in general, that Parliament is open to the public and the media. Its committees and plenaries are open to the media and the public. But they cannot participate in the meetings of the Parliament, whether it's a plenary or committees. There are other platforms that they can use to express their views. From time to time, there are statements that are issued by committees, chairpersons of committees. Media can then interact with the chairpersons of committees, Parliament plenaries. They can interact with the presiding officers. but the public can also write to members. They can write to the executive directly. So I'm just cautioning the public that they must not use this chat platform. It's for members only. So I just wanted to indicate that because I see there are members of the public that are using this chat platform to communicate their views. So can they immediately stop doing that? Yeah, members, the time now is almost 10 to 11. We'll be concluding or finishing with the meeting at 12. So we will be now taking questions on all the three presentations. So you can indicate which one you want to, you can even have question on all of them. I have a list of all the members, so members do not necessarily have to raise their hands. I will call on everyone. Let me start with you, Honorable Kruger, because you're already having your hand up, though I also have your name on the list. Over to you. Honorable Kruger. You are muted.
Thank you. Yes, I'm covered now. Thank you, Chair, and both chairs, and thank you for SIFA and SIDA and the department for the presentations. Chair, you know, South Africa, when we look at the ease of doing business index of the World Bank, we are actually doing very bad in the ease of doing business. And COVID-19 also taught us that the ease of getting access to government assistance and relief is just as difficult. So my question is then, what is the three departments doing about getting our communities or allowing our communities better ease to their programs? Because it's very difficult. As I say, COVID-19 taught us a lesson that's very difficult to do business with government. That's the first point. And the second point is the district model. Last time I asked a question about the district model, and sometime they will come and give us a presentation on that. The question I want to ask is, how much will the district implementation of the district model cost the department, SIFA and SIDA? Because I can't see that there's any budget available for implementing the district model. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Dango.
Chair, I think what we need to look at is the district model becomes extremely important because the spatial division of the apartheid city, state, and the townships and the ghettos makes it difficult that no local entity can survive on its own. There is no viable local entity in South Africa that can survive. So the district model becomes one of the models that we can implement to actually overcome that kind of difficulty. Chairperson, the question I wanted to ask was, what mitigating factors have they put into place to look at the risks over the METF period in all three of the presentations? And should we not just have a special focus on cooperatives? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. I will also ask members if they could also indicate to who the question is directed to of the three, the department, the two entities. Honorable Professor Amsima. You are muted, Honorable Amsima. Can you please unmute yourself? You are still muted.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, audible now, Prof.
Thank you. No, I am covered. I've got no question at the moment.
Okay. Honorable Apleni.
Yes,
Honorable
thanks, Chair. Thanks, Chair. No, Chair, I don't have much here. You know, I think it's just a comment on the presentation by SITA. On slide 16, I'm glad that they have made mention of the fact that there is still the problem with access. You know, our people in rural areas, in townships, they find it very hard to access them. I think they need to do more on ensuring that they are accessible to everyone. It should not run that entity as if it's for the elite. And then also the question of support system and the guidance to those that they have provided resources to. It is very important. And I think it's also important, Chair, that at some stage that they provide us with the list of the people that they provide support to. We should not just be told that we are supporting so much. We need to know. You know, in some cases, we find that happens that it's only some few connected individuals which are able to access the support from some of these. Yes, and then the question of payment holidays that they have made mention of. We need to know which are those people or companies which they have actually provided those payment holidays to. It can't be just, it's a mention that we have provided payment holidays to so many, and we don't even know who are those. So I think that's all for now, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Lubengo.
Chairperson, I'm covered.
Yes, Honorable. You're covered.
Thank
Okay.
you. Yes.
Okay. Honorable Landsman. Mr. Solomon says, Honorable Landsman in. Okay. Honorable Muimang.
Chair, let me also take this opportunity to express my appreciation of the presentation as led by the minister and the team. Chair, indeed the advent of the COVID-19 has pushed some of the key policy priorities forward in a very big way. For instance, the program to modernize business processes by developing the SMME database to ensure that there is effective and efficient service provisioning has been catalyzed during the COVID-19 period. And also the issue of formalizing most of the informal business, and the department has indeed committed through its revision of its target the importance of providing support in a much more sustained way. However, there is a concern that I want to raise with the department, particularly given what the stats shows. The stats shows the increasing level of unemployment, with young people taking a large percentage of the unemployed people. When you go to slide 40, there is a removal of number of targets, and amongst slide 40 in the presentation by the department. The removal of targets, and amongst those targets removed is the targeted approach to young people, business entities, and I think the department is conscious of the broader approach of government to ensure that in everything that we do, there is a targeted approach to our young people. Even with the list process, the ruling party has set aside 20% on its list to young people. So the removal of target of business enterprises focusing on young people is a concern. Maybe what the department could do could probably just share light of that. How are we going to ensure that that specificity with regard to young people's enterprises, cooperatives, and entrepreneurial activities is not lost in the midst of redirecting such programs to whether it's CIFA or whether it's SEDA. The second point, Chair, relates to the presentation by, I think it's SEDA. No, it's CIFA. There is a program that speaks to the disability cooperative or enterprises, and with the Department of Labor, there is a program that is specifically focusing on the disability enterprises called Sector Employment Enterprise. My question to CIFA is whether have they interacted with the Department of Employment and Labor so that at least there is a convergence of programs to maximize these opportunities, because Employment and Labor have a program specifically assigned to deal with business that speaks to the disabled groups. So I just want to check as whether how do we ensure that there is an alignment between the two, so that we are able to maximize its impact. The third point is just clarity with regard to SEDA. I could not pick it up. Pardon me if it was my oversight, because in terms of the capital expenditure, in terms of the budget for its programs, I could not pick up any matter that speaks to reallocation and readjustment, responding to the special adjustment budget as announced. If it was my oversight, pardon me, Chair, but I just want SEDA to speak to us in terms of where have they reallocated, where have they readjusted. I couldn't pick it up from the presentation. The last one relates to in the previous when we dealt with the business growth resilience, the impression that was created was that this program has been suspended. There is a moratorium on this program. But I've again seen it from CIFA that there is a program that speaks to business growth and resilience fund. If I can just be given clarity around whether this program, is it continuing or is it not continuing? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Honorable Lord.
Thank you, Chairperson. There's just Honorable Kruger covered me in most of the aspects, but I just want to start off by making a comment on what your joint chair said when we started, and and it's a concern as to how there's the understanding of how the economics work. If you say you want an alcohol ban for 2 years, there's small businesses that depend on the harvesting, manufacturing, distribution, selling and serving of alcohol. Now, I don't take away the argument that there's pressure on the health system, but a committee that needs to support businesses and support small businesses, and the chair making such a broad and generalized statement just shows that there is very little understanding as to how the wheels turn and how the economics work. And what we say here is also open to the public and to the media, and that has an effect. So that's the one thing that I just want to flag and say, please, let's just be aware of that. I am representing the Western Cape. We are heavily reliant on that industry as well. And since the sale of alcohol has been lifted, our curve has actually flattened here in the province. Now, it's a different argument about the pressure on the healthcare system and the trauma units, but I do ask you to please consider the words you use before you're making broad statements. On a more positive note, a lot of these has been more proactive. I am concerned that a lot what we often say in the government doesn't always realize. So that's our job then, to see that what you have said get actually implemented and we see the results. And then the one thing I flagged on a few times, the moving closer of CEDA and CIFA and not duplicating the resources. This was actually an ideal opportunity to speed that up quite significantly. But I'm sure that as we go along, you will give us more feedback on how that is progressing. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Lord. Honorable Babalwa Matulelwa. Are you in, Honorable Babalwa?
Am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Chair.
If you can also switch on your camera.
Yes, it's on.
Okay.
Do you see me?
Yes.
Do you see me? Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chair. My question will be just on small business development department, where there is a plan. Yes, I can see, although I was struggling to zoom in the meeting, but my question will just focus on the relief and the present moment of COVID-19. My question is focusing on on how far does the department is with the relief for these people. For example, on OR Tambo, people they were taken there. The list was taken there on the town hall, also in the streets. But when we do follow up on the oversight, the municipality there on Mthatha just giving us different managers, but they are saying there is no list at the moment. There is no one who they know. There is no follow up. Everything that they are saying, this thing will be focusing on CEDA offices. I don't know, but I just want the clarity there and the way on how to fast track this thing of a relief. Also in Matatiel, Ward 15 Ponteng, there are people there, the construction and the farmer who applied for the relief fund. Up until today, they didn't get anything from the department. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Babalwa. Next speaker is Honorable Bridget Romelang. Honorable Bridget. Is Honorable Jack present? Are you in the meeting? Okay, can we take Honorable April in the meantime? Honorable April?
It appears he's left the conversation, Chair, and Honorable Bridget Tumalang is present.
Okay. Okay, I'll move on for now. Honorable Boshoff.
Chair, thank you. I'm covered.
Okay, thank you very much. Is the Honorable Mark back?
Hello, Chair.
Okay.
Chair, hello. How are you? Okay, good morning to all colleagues, Chair. I'm in a meeting, but I have a problem of the network, so I'm covered by Honorable Kenny Wima. I was listening. That's why I did not put my video on.
Okay. Honorable Mbele is Honorable Mbele in? Honorable Mbele?
No, Chair.
No, not in. Okay. Is Honorable Manu in? Not. Honorable Protester? Honorable Tim?
Yes, Chair, thank you. Chair, I'm unfortunately, can you hear me, Chair?
Yes, I can hear you, loud and clear.
Wonderful. Sorry, Chair, we have load shedding here at the moment, so the signal is a bit bad, and so if I turn my camera on, it knocks me out completely. Chair, you know, there's an old saying that says, one's commitment to an ideological position is directly proportionate to your distance from the problem. And I just want to reinforce what my colleague, Honourable Lont, says. When you have absolutely nothing to do with an industry that is massive in this country, i.e. the alcohol industry, and all the people who work in that industry, from the person who picks the grapes on the vines, to the company that makes the glass bottles, to the companies that make the labels, when you are completely divorced from that industry and have nothing to do with it, as I suspect the co-chair does, you make irresponsible statements like that. And I just want to reinforce the statements of Honourable Lont, that we be responsible when we make statements and realize that they have an impact on the lives and livelihoods of millions of people in this country. And our first objective with small business is not to say how can we close it down, but how can we open it up in a responsible manner that curbs the spread of COVID-19. Really, I really call for that. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Mama Rakhane. Is Honorable Mama Rakhane in?
No, Chair. No, she left. Oh, no, she is. She is present.
Okay. Okay. Honorable Matebula, are you able to use your microphone? Or if not, can you then post your questions on the chat?
Hi, Chair. They are on the chat.
Or already on the chat?
Can I read them?
Okay, please read them so that they can be noted and responded to.
Thanks, Chair. The first question from Ms. Matevula is whether the department has a plan to assist cooperatives which are underperforming and those who are struggling to pay electricity bills especially those who are in rural areas and townships. The second one is whether department has a plan to assist SMMEs in making sure that they are given opportunity to sell their products in big malls. The third one is whether the department has a plan to encourage national and provincial and state-owned entities to procure goods and services from local MMEs. And the last one is whether the department has a plan to assist street traders and hawkers. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. Before I move on to other members, I just want to first establish whether the following honorable members are present. Honorable Msodi, if you can indicate Ms. Denise if they are present, or Ms.
Okay.
Solomons.
Okay.
Honorable Msodi and Honorable Lastman.
They are not present, Chair.
Oh, okay. Can I then ask, because I've given everybody the opportunity to speak. I don't know if I saw that Honorable TK is also connected. Are you still there, Honorable TK? Or you were holding the fort for Honorable Babalo?
Honorable Jacobs, you have not given him an opportunity.
Yeah, I'm still coming. I'm still coming to. Yes.
And also Honorable Hendricks.
Oh, okay. Honorable Hendricks, sorry. You can take the floor.
Always against me, Honorable Chair.
Sorry? No, I haven't forgotten you. I do have you on the list, but I didn't see. The problem is that there's a challenge with this function that indicate who's logged in, who's not logged in. Usually there's a list of those who have logged in, but this thing is not working now. So I rely on the committee secretaries. I'm sorry, you can take the platform and ask your question.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I would have liked to have heard about the three entities' contribution to implement some of the exciting hope that the President gave in the State of the Nation address. We are still waiting to hear about the 1,000 items that will be in the exclusive domain of small businesses. And we're also waiting to hear about implementing some of the President's other promises to the nation. Honorable Chair, I was a bit disappointed when I heard the SHIFA being disappointed about low interest rates. Low interest rates is key for small businesses, and we need to have a mindset that doesn't depend on high interest rates. If SHIFA and SHIDA and the department are going to rely on high interest rates for their survival and what they do, then I think that is anti-revolutionary. What is also anti-revolutionary, Honorable Chair, is that we can't have transformation in South Africa if we have an economy that depends on alcohol harm and cigarette harm. And certainly we know that that is very prominent in big business. But when it comes to small business, those are the two areas that we must keep out of. South Africa needs to get small businesses to thrive. And for us, for Al Jamaa, the three important matters is zero-based interest, if we can move towards that. And the department has done well by having the hybrid system where grants are also allocated to mitigate the high interest rates. So I hope in future I'm not going to hear moans and groans about low interest rates. And also, Honorable Chair, alcohol harm and cigarette harm means that if South Africa is going to transform, then those must be reduced as much as possible in the economy, and we will not depend on our GDP and whatever we do on thriving of these two sectors. These two sectors needs to be wiped off the face of South Africa. Honorable Chair, we need African solutions for the challenges that we Africans face in South Africa. And I can't repeat enough the importance of very low interest rates and the removal of those matters that those industries that cause alcohol harm and cigarette harm to the nation. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Hendricks. Honorable Jacobs.
Thank you, Chairperson, and greetings to all the members. Let me first record our appreciation for the Department, the Minister and Deputy Minister, and the agencies for, I think, a very good presentation on the adjustment budgets, given the difficulty and the trying circumstances that we are under. They've been able to budget, manage the budgets, also reprioritization. I think the big challenge, as all of us are saying, is that we need to ensure that implementation, efficacy, and oversight is going to be crucial. So just one comment from maybe the Minister, but how do we ensure that this budget is spent and maximized, and we get maximized impact? We know that the money is not enough, and I think we welcome, as this committee, we must welcome the commitment that the President has outlined, that more than 10 billion rand is going to be made available for loans for small businesses. We are concerned that the big five banks are not taking this up in a more vigorous way, and we also, at the committee, will ensure that the banks increase accountability and transparency to ensure that our people that really need and have good ideas and are committed do access funds in a open way. If the banks can't do it, then we'll call the Reserve Bank in to ensure that other financial lending institutions can also help our people to access funds, because we have those funds that is available and our people must access that. I think for me the key thing is also, let me just come into this debate about the alcohol. I think with respect, we support the President and the National Command's decision to put our health first. I think this is the time where we need greater sacrifice from all of us. The health pandemic is not just a South African problem, it's an international problem. And we have a caring and responsive government that put our people's life first. So I think we welcome that. I think the industries must make sacrifices. Yes, our jobs are crucial, and our part of our role is to ensure that we protect the jobs. But at the same time, I think for the next immediate period, while the pandemic is wreaking havoc in our society, and clearly society is not in a position to manage the alcohol and even the abuse of those. So we welcome the decision. It will be an ongoing debate, and so we stand by our chair's view that we welcome this the halt of alcohol. I think also from our side, we want to ensure that we need to ask the department to improve communication strategy, especially to the communities that really deserve this. So we want to look at what are the progress made around communication strategies to ensure that we get the relevant technology and use the relevant technology and all the different platforms so that we increase the coverage. We're also saying that we want to comment on conducting oversight, both online and virtual, where possible, to establish the extent of success and benchmarking the areas of improvements. So I think we share the sentiments of identifying good and best practice. I think Township Entrepreneurial Fund should be welcomed, and we should look at how we expand that, and more support needs to be given to that. We must also ask the department to elaborate on the finance and other implications for the adjustments on the operational budgets for the current and financial period. We must ask the department to explain this and how it will be broken down into annual and quarterly performance plans. But I think overall, we should welcome these adjustments. So thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Jacobs. What we're going to do now is we'll be getting responses from the two entities and the department. I'll chair this part of the responses by the two entities, and then the chairperson, co-chairperson will then chair the responses from the department and minister, and then also make remarks. But just for me, my concern is around the issues of transformation. Whatever revision is being done, it should not interfere with the transformation. And I think the Honorable Moimang emphasized on this point that whatever reduction in terms of numbers should not interfere with the youth, women, and people with disabilities, as well as the transformation. That's why I'm concerned also about the fact that you suspending the issue of triple BEE codes and the sector codes. And you say that you'll be DTI. We can't compromise on transformation. So we're not clear what is it that you'll be deliberating with DTI around the issue of triple codes. So we really need clarity with regard to that. Actually, we are even disappointed that there is even any suspension of funds with regard to small business development. Because as I was also indicating in another department, DTI, the Small Business Development Department and its entities should be the key in the recovery of the economy that is affected by COVID-19. So if monies are being taken from departments, I think these departments that are involved in the recovery of the economy should be the ones that are not touched when it comes to suspension of funds. So at this stage, then we will. I don't know if Honorable has join us after. I think he got disconnected. I don't get any questions to ask before we allow then the SIDA and the CIFA as well as department to respond. Honorable April.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Chairperson. You know, with the intermittent signaling things, it gives a little bit of a problem. However, I think Honorable Moy Tlomelang has covered me with regards to the questions I wanted to ask. So I want to thank the department for the presentation. Thank you, Chair.
All right, Sid, I will start with you. There were questions that I think when I was listening to them, they would need perhaps that you consult further with those that were asking questions so that you get specific details about the issues that they were raising. But also there's a question that would require written information on those that are being supported. That goes to CIFA as well, particularly with regard to those companies who are having holiday breaks. So I think there's a question around that. So as you're responding, it means therefore, one, you'll have to make a follow-up with those that were asking questions so that you get more details, but also with regard to the written information that is required on the SMMEs that you're supporting. Over to you, Sida.
Thank you, Chairperson. It's not going to be SIDA who responds, and SIFA, it's me. I'll refer to the questions that they need to clarify, because the issues that have been raised have nothing to do with the presentations. It has to do with the leadership of the country. Let me start by the issue raised by Honorable Kruger, which relates to the ease of doing business in the country. The presence of COVID-19 and the lockdown that the country had to go through, necessarily so, had fast-tracked our ability to introduce technology to use to support small businesses. We did the SMME SA database so that the small businesses can be able to apply online. With that, we also extended that footprint to our SIDA network that is embedded in our district, including the district municipalities, where SIDA is co-locating, and other agencies, to make sure that those who don't have access to technology, they can also apply. But with the penetration of smartphones in the country, we have 34 million smartphones in this country. It shows you majority of the people have access to smartphones, but we are continuing to improve the accessibility of the SMME database from at least also a feature phone, that you don't need to have a smartphone, but you can use a feature phone to apply for funding and apply for any kind of support. Part of the technology the agency have been talking about of improving the technology, we are integrating the back end of both SIDA and SIFA in the department into one, so that there's seamless application through to make sure that you deal with the red tape. But the major red tape we have experienced during this period, where in terms of the Business Act, small businesses and informal and micro businesses, they need business licenses by their municipality. We found that the DA-led Cape Metropolitan Council charges 4,500 for an SMME to apply for a business license. That is the largest and the most severe of red tape to make sure that our people in the townships and even in informal businesses can be able to participate in the economy. Part of the reasons why the SPASA support and all the informal and micro support businesses have a low uptake in the Western Cape is because of the exorbitant cost of applying for a business license in the municipality of the Cape Metropolitan. And that's the issue that the Honorable Kruger must assist us to resolve. There was a question also by Honorable Kruger to say how much it will cost us to implement the district model. The district development model does not add additional cost to government. The district development model says, as government, when you plan, whatever you plan, it doesn't take place. There's no such a place called national. There's no such a place called province. There's a place called, the people reside in a district and in a ward. And that's where activities are done. And with us, it improves our ability to account at a district level of our plans. Today, we can tell you of the SPASA support, how many of those come from Zululand district, for example? How many come from the Dr. KK Kaunda district? How many are our targets in those areas? It also improves accountability to us, to the people, because it also redresses it deals with the issue of equitable distribution of support and development in the country, that the development will no longer be concentrated in urban areas and cities where people have access to resources quicker, but government will have to assist even those who are in far-flung districts and rural areas, and with particular targets that are set. We will avail to yourself after the budget vote of the minister, the details of per district of across all the support programs we are giving, more especially in the informal and micro business areas. It then allows us to also focus on dedicated improvements of economic areas of particular districts, because we are starting to have a view of which areas do not have or have minimal economic activity. What are the stimulus that we need to put in those areas to make sure that there is economic activity? So the district development model does not cost us any more than we had planned to have in terms of the execution. It just gives a better sight to yourselves as the leadership who are charged with overseeing our work, but also give a sight to South Africans of what are the support that government is going to do. Because imagine if we could not say, and I'll use the department that is responsible for making roads, if we could not say we are going to build roads in Nkandla, we are going to build roads in Mhlabawa Lingana, we are going to build roads in Kwanzimakwe, we are going to build roads in Kala. imagine what would happen. It will mean those areas will never have a focused development. And this district development model provides us with that. And on our part, we'll avail the details to the portfolio and select committee on in terms of the schemes that we were speaking about now with the APPs and the strat plans and the corporate plans, to say, what does it mean per district? And that's what we are focusing on. And there was a question by Honorable Dango on how we can, and thank you, Honorable Dango, also for clarifying the importance and significance of the district-based development model. But you also asked, what are the mitigation for the risks that have been alluded to? We've put mitigation plans across the risk that we experience. We are lucky that even when we're doing the relief mechanism, we were aware that the risk of abuse is too high. That's why we brought in the banks, whose systems sometimes are more better in terms of integrity with us, and we've partnered with them actively. And we're trying as much as possible to move away from us dealing with things directly, but also to partner with the banks. But that partnership is not only about reliance on their system, it's also about getting the banks to start to bank our people, to develop or assist in the building up of a credit profile for those who were previously excluded from banking with the banking sector, on the back that their government is guaranteeing them participation, and over a 1 or 2 year period, they should be able to access a bank credit directly without the support of government, because they would have built the necessary profile. But we continue to appreciate the role that the Auditor General of South Africa plays in overseeing the work that we do, in holding us accountable and mitigating all the other, and making sure that we are on our toes to make sure that we mitigate against all the risks that are in place. If there are particular concerns that the honorable members may have around the risk that we may not have covered clearly in the mitigation, we are willing to listen to those advices and guidance, and then we'll take it forward. And we have a dedicated program for cooperatives, but also you should be aware that cooperatives participate strongly in the clothing and textile, they participate strongly in agro-processing, they participate strongly in the confectionaries and bakeries. There are a number of schemes that cooperatives also participate in, and they are also targeted there. But we also have a dedicated program for cooperatives support, which is led by our Deputy Minister, Zoleka Xaba Mafaku Manyauze. And there was also a question by Honorable Apleni around improving access to, how to improve access. And as I've already indicated, the footprint of CEDA, it touches majority of our regions, though it doesn't reach every corner. But CEDA has always been working on co-location with the partner municipalities and the other agencies that are provincial to make sure that we get access closer. But last year, we started a program of working together with municipalities so that the LED units of municipalities become centers for accessing services. We had commenced with the training, and then because of the COVID-19, we're disrupted, but we're going to resume that training so that we can embed the working relationship. It works much better and much closer because the municipalities are even in each municipality. So municipal offices are in each municipality. So you are able to access more people because majority of people are able to walk to their municipal offices. We working with the district LED forums across the country, which are coordinated by the district municipalities, to make sure that we keep track to improve access to services from our people. We will indeed provide the list from CEDA of those who benefited from the payment holidays of CIFA, not CEDA, from CIFA. We're also going to share with you the list of those who benefited from the SMME debt relief. It is important that you've got the list because you need to be able to go and see whether those people were indeed deserving of that, and you give us feedback because it's your responsibility to do oversight, and we appreciate the work on oversight on that part. Honorable Muimang, related to that, raised the issue around the business growth and resilience scheme. The business growth and resilience scheme is going to be, it's no longer suspended only, but it's going to be, we're stopping it. But SIFA has to continue to report on it for this financial year, like we had indicated back then that we had already expended, I think it's an amount of 16 million rands. So the fact that they continue to talk about it is not because there are new programs on it. They talk about it because they've already expended on it, and it has to be, that money has to be accounted for until the year closure, the financial year is closed and the necessary audits are done so that we can have a proper closure of the system. And indeed, Honorable Muimang was worried about targets. The transformation targets. And Chairperson, you raised the issue around the transformation target. One, let me explain that the removal of the BEE scorecard target is not related to our department performance. It's related to how both DTIC through the BEE Commission and ourselves make sure that we deliver for South African small businesses, that they are supported by big enterprises. Remember, the big enterprises have what they call BE points they must earn. And our view is that they are currently earning BE points on lax issues. I'll give you an example. One large corporate wanted to forgo what they call equity ownership in their business, but they wanted to replace that with a funding program, and they were offering us 100 million. And we said, we can't accept 100 million. And we told the departments, because officials were willing to jump into the 100 million, we told them that it's not sufficient. That 100 million is not sufficient given the size and amount and profits that company turns over in this country. They must come to the table and make sure that their BE contribution or replacement points are worth it. So it's not us reneging on our BEE or on the transformation targets. We are simply working with the DTIC and the BEE Commission on improving how jointly we make sure that these large corporates they hold true to the transformation agenda of the country, but they also have meaningful contribution to that effect. On our part, just to give you comfort, we are targeting to support across all the schemes that the department has. We're targeting to support 30% youth, 40% women-owned enterprises, and 7% people with a disability. The court also instructed us that we must also include race. We are targeting to support 70% Black-owned enterprises. And that's the target that we are moving to date across all the schemes that we've put in. And we have learned that if we don't have those targets from the get-go and also not show the weighting and the numbers from the get-go, will never achieve it. And the court was very clear and instructive to me as the minister to say I must change the criteria to make sure that the targets are clear and that race remains a transformation requirement, and we must have a specific target for race, and also the weighting that must be put by both the agencies and ourselves must result in us achieving the percentage the targets we have. And Honorable Muimang, just for the record, the governing party that you represent, that I'm also deployed from, their youth target is 20%. Our youth target is 30%. So we are doing more than what the governing party has mandated us to do on the youth target. And indeed, we are linking with the Department of Employment and Labor, not only on the enterprises owned by people with disabilities, but also enterprises, what we call it, employee-supported companies. Because majority of big businesses, when they retrench their workers, we have agreed as government that we want to make sure that those workers do not go and languish in the pool of unemployed, but because they've got certain skills, they must be supported to form businesses. Some will be cooperatives and some will be small businesses, and we have a responsibility to support them until they can be on their own and participate in the economy. Now, not only as workers, but as employers and owners of the means of production. So we're working with the department closely on that. It's not only on that scheme, but also in what the other scheme that we call artisanary business support, because we know people in the construction, engineering, and related fields are severely affected by the down scale in the economy. Honorable Lutz and honorable teams, as they went to town to chastise the chairperson of the portfolio committee around the ban, the suspension of the sale of alcohol. Unfortunately, what they were saying, they were misinformed, because yes, the alcohol has been suspended. And for your record, Honorable Luns, the impact study that the medical advisors has given cabinet on about the impact of alcohol on the trauma units. It was done in the Western Cape. So it's not true that the Western Cape has been spared. When the ban of alcohol was lifted, there was whatever. The impact, the trauma units are clogged up more so in the Western Cape. That's where the data is coming from. So the Western Cape is not unique. Western Cape is part of South Africa. What is a fact is that South Africans have a problem of alcohol abuse. And we need together as leadership that we must collectively address the issue of alcohol or abuse of alcohol in our community and in our society. That's not a negotiable. But by the way, the suspension of the sale of alcohol does not affect farmers who are producing wine, barley, and all the other inputs that produce alcohol. By the way, the suspension of the sale of alcohol is suspended to be sold in South Africa, but the export of alcohol is allowed. Even as I'm talking to you, it was even allowed the previous time. So you cannot say the other sectors in the Western Cape are affected. It's only those that are in the sale of alcohol, and it's because the impact on the trauma units across the country is bad, and Western Cape is an example. Western Cape is not immune to the problems that face the rest of South Africa. And I hope we all understand that Western Cape, we don't run a federal government, we run a single and unitary government. Honorable Babalo, I need we'll share the list in terms of those who have been approved, but we must indicate to you, we have never gone to town halls or streets to get people to apply for relief. People have been applying for relief through the SMME SA website. That's what we have been doing across, and also through emails. And I think maybe I don't have facts where I'm willing to have further details from yourself. We have partnered with municipalities in terms of getting access to the spaza support, clothing and textile support, all these other schemes that we are doing. And maybe that's where the list comes from, but people still must apply online. And our SIDA offices and municipal offices are available to assist them with applications online. The SMME debt relief scheme was long closed a long time ago. The money was exhausted. We couldn't get additional money, but now we're focusing on the business viability as the DG was presenting to you. And there was a question by Honorable Matebula. Maybe I'll come back to the Honorable Matebula question. Honorable Hendricks, I share your sentiment that it's anti-revolutionary for SIFA to complain about the low interest rate. I was also shocked myself as a minister, and I'll take it up with the board of SIFA. Part of why we want to merge SIDA and SIFA is we want to look at other sources of funding. The DFIs cannot continue to charge our people higher interest rates than what the ordinary banks can do. Actually, DFIs must charge less. It can be correct that when the interest rates go down, which is beneficial to our small businesses, we are the ones that complain. It's not acceptable and it's anti-revolutionary, and the board of SIFA will address it. But what is important is that we need to know that SIFA's capitalization has always been an issue, and they've not been capitalized. Part of the discussion around the merger of SIFA and SIDA and NEF, it includes how do we make sure not only a once-off recapitalization of the DFIs, but a continuous recapitalization, because they have a critical developmental mandate, and that's when we need to talk about. And we are still talking about the 1,000 products that the president mentioned. And we're not only talking about them, Honorable Hendricks and other members, we are also working around it. To date, as we speak to you, more than 35 products that are produced by SMMEs have been listed with wholesalers. And we're talking about 35, not the number of SMMEs, but the particular categories of products that we are supporting SMMEs. And our view is that SMMEs must be the largest producer, or if not the sole producers of those products. And you should be aware that even with the issue around the cloth face mask, we won we made progress with National Treasury and Cabinet, where a decision was taken that cloth face masks must be made and procured from small businesses and cooperatives. And that's part of the products we're saying they must be done from SMMEs. There's also a clear movement to get the hand sanitizers to be produced by small businesses. So we are not only talking about the 1,000 products the president mentioned, but we are also working on implementing that those 1,000 products are indeed in place. Then the issue that was raised by Honorable Jacobs, Members, our major challenge has been the implementation. I found it very frustrating when we're implementing the debt relief, that the movement in terms of the speed at which our officials move, both at agencies and at department, is very slow. And I'm even starting to think that maybe our staff need to be retrained about prioritizing the pain of our people, because you can't keep on saying we want to achieve this number and people don't feel, they feel lax, they don't feel pained that our people are not getting the service or access to that service. And for me, it has been frustrating. The chairperson of both the chairpersons of both SIFA and SIDA will tell you that at some point we crossed swords, because I was saying they're even protecting their staff in terms of the pace at which movement must be done to support our people. So what we have done now, we continue to have weekly meetings to make sure that we oversee directly the implementation across the agencies and also across department. And I could sit here and say we'll sort it out, but I'm appealing to yourself to intensify also the oversight. But maybe it's time to start to hold the officials directly accountable for non-delivery on the targets and slow delivery on these targets, because people think they can come to work and leave and tomorrow they'll end their salary. They forget that in the department where we are, that's where we're declared essential services during the COVID-19. If we don't do certain things, if we don't help many of our people, there are people who won't be able to put bread on their table. And for me, that is very critical. And I appreciate your commitment to that. You would want to push or hold the banks accountable for supporting the small businesses, including the Reserve Bank on the National Credit Guarantee Scheme. I'll be waiting for actions from the portfolio and the select committee in that regard. And truth be told, our communication strategy is really bad, and we are working to improve it. But again, the slow pace of movement in the department, and also in particular in the agencies, because the department, like the chair was asking, part of the budget that was administrative budget that was affected is the budget on the budget on communication has been drastically affected. So we have to rely on the agencies to deliver it on the communication strategy. But we are glad to report that the GCIS has tabled a very intensive and comprehensive communication plan, which I think if we partner with them, it will improve our communication. And we'll avail the targets in terms of numbers, in terms of names, in terms and locality for yourself in writing, so that we can then, you can be able to exercise oversight whether virtually or non-virtually. I just want to go and look at the questions of Honorable Matebula. They were reading them too fast for me to be able to deal with before I invite the members of the SIFA and SIDA to just deal with a few issues that I did not deal with. But the one question she was asking, whether we are going to assist cooperatives who are underperforming with electricity and whatever. So our assistance to cooperatives is to make cooperatives as businesses viable. Part of that viability says, if they are working capital that they must be assisted on, and that's not all cooperatives, because cooperatives that are supported by Department of Agriculture, even the ones that were started by us or that will continue to start who are in the agricultural space, when we have rated them, we'll hand over them to the Department of Agriculture and we'll continue with the business support. Where we offer funding, and the funding includes working capital, they will decide what to do with working capital, but whether they pay for their electricity or whatever else which is part of working capital. But what is important is that our commitment both to cooperatives and small businesses is that we are no longer going to become like drop boxes. We drop and go. We're not dropping and go. We come in, we hold each other's hand, and we walk the journey with you, so that until your business is sustainable and your business is viable. But what we are looking at is to also improve on our assessment of businesses, because truth of the matter is that we won't be able to help everyone, whether you're a small business or a cooperative, but we need to help those who have the better and best chances of survival and being viable under the new normal. And that's where we are going to focus on and improve on. Thank you, Chairperson. I think you can invite the chair of SIFA to deal with there's one issue I didn't deal with, which was in SIFA, and then I think the chair of SIDA can do. The DG may have to speak again on the adjustment. I think it's SIDA, or no, the DG may have to speak on the administration, impact on the administration on adjustment. because they've cut a lot of money in the administration, which is having an impact, but we think we can survive. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Thank you so much. You tried to respond. We are impressed. If all those issues you have narrated can be implemented, it will take the department somewhere. Let me invite the chairperson of SEDA to respond to issues with his. Yes. Yes.
Can you allow me a minute?
Or the DG or DM. Okay, DM, come in.
Oh, thank you very much. There is one thing I would want to highlight in adding to the comprehensive response by the minister. This one goes to the fact that on discussing with the small businesses, particularly those who feel they were affected negatively during the COVID and our responses. This is what they have discovered and what we also agree with them, that if you were your type of business was catering, your type of business was event management, that is hiring chairs or cooking equipment or tents, very big tents, which is very common in some areas because it's easy to do. Now, they understand, even if they were given the resilience fund, they would not be sustainable because there is total change in what is business today. Now that there are no big events, to whom are you going to hire your tents and chairs and everything? Now that there is now a reduction in catering services, like you would say you would be catering for municipalities and departments, but now, due to the situation that we face, there's no more that you are going to have catering being advertised, etc. Then the bottom line is, instead of us following the fact that they were not assisted for resilience, it's the time to engage and say, what are the possible changes in converting their businesses into what is now required and what is available in the market. Hence, the minister is very clear on the economic recovery. I just think the issue, the cluster on economic and investment is coming with a new approach in how to rebuild our economy. Those matters will be taken, and I'm saying to the honorable members, they should engage with our people there to say not everything is lost. Because even if we had assisted you, you will still have no market in any way. This is why we will follow what the minister is saying, and also to include and actually emphasize the fact that the district development model assists in integration. As long as we are integrated at that level, there will be no need for making many applications. Small business will post to you at that district to the relevant department. So there must be a new normal in terms of our people wanting to divert to ecotourism if it's possible, and so on, and food security issues, school nutrition, etc., so as to be able to rehatch new type of businesses that will be relevant post-COVID. Thank you very much for that little time. Thank you very much, Minister, in any way.
Thank you, DM. I'm now inviting the chairperson of SEDA. Chairperson of
Through you,
Chairperson of
Chairperson.
SEDA.
Through you, Chair, it looks like our chairperson has been disconnected. I know she was having problems because of, oh, she's back.
Okay.
Thank you, C.
Dr.
Thank
Ndlovu.
you, Chairperson, and thank you, Minister. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, you
Okay.
are audible. You can proceed, please.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. I think the Minister has covered all the questions that were posed to us, Chairperson, from SEDA's perspective, as well as SEDA and the department. What I would maybe want to add is, and maybe give assurance to the members, particularly the chairperson, the co-chairperson, who was worried about youth and women targets having been reduced. I was going to take the chairperson and members back to our slides that show that we have actually increased the targets when it comes to informal traders, when it comes to women, when it comes to youth, so that we have not cut. What we did reduce were those things that everybody can see that are not going to be possible. They are not realistic. The targets are not realistic. I was also going to talk on the issue of access, ensuring that communities have access to us, but the minister has touched on that, and I think everything else has been covered. Thank you, Chairperson.
Okay. With your permission, Chair, may I request the acting CFO to respond to the question on the budget that was raised by one of the members?
Thank you. Okay, CFO, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson and CEO. In terms of the budget of SEDA reprioritization, the incubation budget, an amount of 80.5 million, was allocated to the Enterprise Development Division for the informal business support. And further, the amount of 4 million that was initially budgeted for the SABIC, we call it South African Business Incubation Conference, is no longer going to take place in this year. The 4 million amount will be allocated to technology transfer and quality and standard project. SEDA also allocated an amount of 17 million for the Spasa Shop support project. This will be implemented via SIFA. And we further cut our administration cost by an amount of 12.8 million, mainly the traveling, marketing, and telephone cost. This amount was allocated to the Enterprise Development Fund, and from our capital expenditure, we reduced it by an amount of 2.7 million. Overall, our budget reprioritization, we allocated 116 million to the project development as a result of the COVID relief measures. Thank you.
Thank you. Now inviting SIFA.
Chair, thank you very much. I feel like was indicated, the minister was able to deal with the questions, almost all questions that were directed at SIFA. I'll just make perhaps one comment just to clarify one matter and also deal with the question. I think she did indicate that there's an issue that was missed, which was the question from Honorable Mama Rahan. The point that I want to clarify, Chair, it's more of a messaging issue around the issue of interest rates. If you look at the presentation is simply indicating the risks associated with concessional rates, which is fully understood from the position of the board. Perhaps it's because it's the bin counter that was given the detail, and the message would have come a bit in a negative light. So from SIFA's side, we fully appreciate that ours is not about profit at all costs, but more about making sure that the organization runs in a very sustainable manner. Perhaps just to clarify, if members were to look at the detail, you would understand, you would see that there's a combination in terms of impact on sustainability, which has to do with rates, the concessional rates, the grant portion that we provide, and so the balance between the three, if I were to put it this way, first of all is the rates, the grant portion that we provide, and also the Schedule 2 legislative requirements for us to operate in a manner, let me call it for a proper word, in a manner that is sustainable. That's thing we have to cover, because we appreciate, which we've always known, the efforts by the minister, by the way, on making sure that we get better capitalized in a continuous process. We are in line. We fully agree with the minister on that front. The point that I want to clarify, Chair, relates to the question that was raised, the question to respond to is the one that was raised by Honorable Mama Rakhan. And again, I don't have to spend much time on it. It was a question that she raised on the plans to assist traders and hawkers. And if Honorable Mama Rakhan was to go back to the presentation once more, she would see, and I indicated that in my summary input, that there were 3 programs that we had for response to COVID, and there are 8 additional programs, part of it which carried the mandate or the focal areas that were in, for instance, the business growth program, as the minister indicated, into the future. So the spaza shops, the traders rather, and the hawkers are included there. There's a clear allocation in terms of budget without wasting time on details. Thank you very much.
Thank you, DG.
Thank you, Chair. Just one question that I need to respond to on the budget cut. Yes, National Treasury did cut our budget, but the money that was cut was from goods and services. We had 89 million and they took back 28 million. But what is mostly affected there is money for travel. Now that we are not traveling a lot, we think we'll be able to survive this budget cut, because most of the money anyway was spent on us traveling, going to projects, going to Cape Town. So most of the money that was cut came from travel. So we're going to be able to survive, Chair. But one of the things that we see a spike on is expenditure on data, because most colleagues are working from home and they don't have, some they don't have access to broadband. So as part of ensuring that everyone is connected, we're able to work, we support the staff with connectivity. So that's why we are seeing a spike in expenditure under goods and services. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Thanks to all honorable members. It was a really good presentation by the agencies as well as the department. We really appreciate, most especially on the issue of the amendment of the bill, Minister, which you are saying that Cabinet is going to push to avoid all those long processes. We appreciate that. And also to emphasize the district development model. Again, the issue of policy for the cooperatives. The funding policy for cooperatives is highly welcomed, as well as the localization program, because this one will unlock the problems, because our people, if they're not producing themselves their own goods, it becomes a problem. So we really appreciate the efforts by the department, as well as the 20 days baseline target for paying our businesses. It will assist them to move forward. I can't repeat what honorable members has indicated, but just to indicate that the 70% of Black-owned entrepreneurs, we support it, and also the issue of visual oversight, because Minister, if we can't move out from this level 3, it's going to be a problem, because even ourselves, were not sure whether things are happening or not. So we really appreciate that, and all the explanation. Again, you said the pace in which you are moving, you are not satisfied. So we are requesting you to make sure that the DG accounts to you, and the DG must make sure that the agencies account to them, because you are going to account to the portfolio committee. So we'll appreciate that if it can be run in that way, because we don't want to stuck on the way. We do have plans, is true, but the implementation part is the one which is a problem. So we really appreciate the efforts. Yes, the reduction, as you have indicated, that it might catch us again on the way, but that is not our wish. Our wish is to deal with this pandemic once and for all. That's why in my opening remarks, maybe I'm being misquoted. I said I support the president, and I want to emphasize that because I'm staying in the rural areas. The impact, the industry on its own has got no problem, but the consumers are the ones who have got problems. People are no longer adhering to the lockdown regulations. They are no longer observing those protocols. They are having tournaments during weekends. They are having bashes. We have just lost one member not long. They were having a party. So I think we need to be responsible. To be responsible is to make sure that we caution our people, because at the end of the day, this pandemic will spread like nobody's business, and we won't have chance to can stop it or defend it. We're all going to die. So I want to put it clear that the contextual meaning of my opening remarks was based on that. Let's try to do awareness to our people so that we adhere to these protocols, so that at the end of the day we'll be able to flatten the pandemic. That was my position. But all in all, thank you so much, all of you. We've come to the end of our meeting. The meeting stand adjourned.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank
you, Chairperson.
Viva, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Minister and DM and your team. That was wonderful.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, Chair.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you.
Nice. Yeah, practicing.